Ndimachero ndimadekwa ndimasiari, and welcome to another video, Learning Tshivenda with Dondani. In today's video, we are going to learn pronunciation differences when we have what I like to call the cuppie at the bottom of the letter, but I think the proper English term is circumflex below, when you have a circumflex below a letter. So let's get started. So you would have seen that some letters, they have a cuppie at the bottom or a circumflex at the bottom, right? And what it essentially indicates is that you wouldn't pronounce that word or that letter the way that you see it and spell it, but you would rather have like what they like to call a dental sound, right? So we're gonna go through the 4 letters in Tshivenda which would have a circumflex in some instances. And this is L, N, D, and T, right? In some words, you will find that these letters have a circumflex underneath or a cuppie at the bottom, and it's going to indicate to you that you have to pronounce it differently. So we are going to spend some time going through examples of how to pronounce it and the differences if you don't have the cuppie at the bottom and how it sounds. Some of the example words that we can use to show you the difference, right? I will take the word konda, right? Ukonda. Konda means ukonda means something is hard, right? If you didn't have a cuppie underneath that D, you would say konda, konda, right? But instead, because we have the cuppie underneath, it highlights that, hey, you don't pronounce this the way that you spell it. So it's konda, konda, right? So how I see it is the moment you see a cuppie, it softens that letter and it allows you to put your tongue between your teeth. So konda instead of konda, right? Another example of a word that I love because it has 2 letters, it's todeya, utodeya, right? This is like when someone is searching for something or when something is needed, utodeya, right? Had you pronounced it the way that you spell it, it would be todeya, right? Todeya, which changes the meaning of the word completely. I actually don't know what todeya would stand for or like mean. So because now you have the cuppie underneath the T and underneath the D, it highlights that you actually have to soften those letters. And how you soften the letters is that you are going to put your tongue between your teeth. So instead of todeya, it's to de ya, to de ya, utodeya, right? I hope you can hear the difference, right? Then another word that we can use to explain this is madi, madi, right? This means water, madi, right? If you didn't have a cuppie underneath the D, it would be madi, madi. And I actually think that means water in, is it Tswana or Sesotho? I'm not too sure. Madi, right? But because we have a cuppie underneath, it's madi, madi, right? Then, I mean, something as simple as the word Tshivenda, right? You actually have a cuppie underneath the D. It's just that in some typing mechanisms or keyboards, you actually don't know how to put that cuppie underneath, right? But it's actually Tshivenda, not Tshivenda. Tshivenda, right? It's Tshivenda, not Tshivenda, right? And there's a whole lot of words where you start seeing the cuppie underneath some letters. And what it should do for you is first highlight that you will not pronounce that letter the way that you spell it. Instead, you are going to soften that letter. And how you soften it is you put your tongue between your teeth, right? So for example, again, mita, mita. Mita means like families, but directly translated to like, you know, mita as in like that floor, veranda floor thing that you find by homes, right? An example that you get is mita. Another example that you get is mita. Mita, if you didn't have a cuppie, you would have said me ta, right? Me ta. But because now you have a cuppie, you are going to say me ta, ta, right? Okay. So I hope you get the difference between like having a cuppie underneath, which I mean it's called a circumflex underneath the letter, versus not having the cuppie underneath, right? So two things should happen. The first thing is it highlights to you that you are not going to pronounce that word the way that you see it, right? You have to soften the letter that it's underneath on, right? And an easy way to soften that letter is to remember that you have to put your tongue between your teeth, right? So, mita, madi, taruchedzwa, todeya, like zwabudi, ukonda, like you always putting the tongue in between the teeth. But if you didn't have the cuppie, you would pronounce that letter the way that you read it, right? I hope that helps. Then, for the people that want to be a little advanced, right, we also have a few, I would even say a handful of words where you would see not a cuppie underneath the letter, but you would see dots at the top of the N, right? I say N because I think I've seen it mostly on N. I don't know if there are other words that have the dots above the letter. Maybe someone can comment and let me know, right? But the dots also indicates to you that one, you are not going to pronounce that letter the way that you read it, right? But it doesn't sound the same way as you would with the cuppie underneath, right? So I'll give you a few words. Like I know the word ngwaha and the word nona or nona, right? And ngwezi, right? Having the dots at the top of the N, it gives you that softer sound of the N, right? But how you say it is a bit tricky. So for example, ngwaha, ngwa, like there's this sound of ngwa, ngwa, right? Ngwaha, right? If you didn't have the dots at the top, you would say noaha, noaha. So it removes that tap of the tongue at the top of your mouth. So you don't go noaha, you go noa, noaha, right? And I guess I mentioned that this is advanced level because the sounds are very, very similar, but there is a difference. And it's one of those things that you don't expect a non-Venda speaking person to know. But if you do know it, that is very impressive, like extremely impressive, right? The other words, unona, nona, right? Unona. If you didn't have the dots at the top, you would say no na, no na. But now because you have the dots at the top, it's nona, unona, right? Nona, right? Again, it sounds very similar and I'm sure even worse when it's on camera, but there is a difference and we can hear the difference, right? It's one of those things where if you don't get it right, it's okay. But if you get it right, very convincing. Like people would probably think that you are Tshivenda speaking, right? But yeah, so I hope this video has helped you understand the differences between having a circumflex under the letter versus not having one. And then for the people that want to be a little advanced, I hope you also are practicing those nona and mwezi and waha sounds because those will take you to like the next level of Tshivenda speaking. But thank you so much for watching. I appreciate the support. And as always, please subscribe, comment, let me know what else you would want to learn. Let's keep practicing.